Wasn't really expecting you to speak, but you're more than welcome to.
Good evening. My name is John Smith from Woodland Pond in Newport here, and I just came down to show my concerns and our concerns. Woodland Pond, water rate doubled.
If you could just talk a little louder.
Our water rate doubled, and we're a new startup, only 3 years old, and the doubling of the water and sewer and electric and everything else is a little difficult. So we're very concerned where it's going, how far does it go, pricing, and so on. So came down to hear from you guys really to find out where it's going.
Well, technically it's a public hearing and we're supposed to hear. Technically it's a public hearing and we're supposed to be hearing from the public and we're not supposed to be talking. But, you know, we did not raise the rates. It was the village that raised the rates, and it was the village that raised the rates on high consumption. And so we have no control over it. And actually the village charges the town residents 150% more than what they charge their own village residents. So we have our own issues, but we don't really bill you. It's the village that bills you. But we had to raise our rates to compensate for the fact that the village raised the rates on our users, and so we had to raise the rates in order to be able to pay the village for the use. So unfortunately, when the village had their public hearing is probably the time and the place you should have gone to talk and say something, because they're the ones who controlled what they did.
Right, we didn't know they were having public hearings at that time, and we missed it.
Yeah.
Watch it now.
Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. You know, there's nothing we can do, I guess, other than...
We're basically a passive pass-through. We don't have any, we don't set the water rates.
We weren't happy with the increase either.
I understand.
But, so,
Thank you.
we empathize, but, you know. Does anybody want to say anything else or speak? Okay, do you want to just close the public hearing and then we'll just open the meeting in 10 minutes?
Yeah, is this on the agenda to be adopted?
You know what, actually, it's not on the agenda.
I don't think it is,
should be. We probably
but I
have
think,
to add it,
yeah.
you know. Oh, actually, there's one that has, so anyway, do you want to do a motion to close the public hearing?
I see another.
I don't think she's here for that.
Is this not projecting?
No, you're both talking very softly into your microphone.
Oh.
And he would, when you told him, he spoke into his microphone.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing on water and sewer rates.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion so carried. So now we have to wait until 7:30 to open up our public part of the meeting, because that's what it's called for. Well, we probably will add the adoption of the water rates on the contract, on the agenda.
We did have a lengthy discussion with our town engineer when these were adopted. It's just not a situation that the town has control over. I don't know what else to say.
It is, it is very difficult. You know, as a new startup, we're only at 80% for independent rating, or 75%, still very soon. So it is difficult. And we said we double the rates, and we have water savers on it. We have 1.6 gallon flushes on it. We have water savers on all those, on the showers. We have water savers on the
Great.
faucets.
Yeah.
So we're up to stuff with
Conservation.
Conservation,
Right.
like using a Phillips bulb with, through the whole place.
Yeah.
But it just, no matter what we do, we can lose that. And anything else, the water, the sewer. No doubt about it.
I don't know, Dave, did you want to?
I was just very surprised to see the way it was tiered. I think your rate, the higher rates was like 40-some%.
Right.
That's a good issue. There's only so many water that you can do. This is just being able to pay the village for the charges that the town gets.
I mean, we were trying to figure out if we had any really high users, you know, so we could understand who, when we increase it, that they'll be impacted, but nobody's impacted in the town like you are, and, you are. But maybe you can annex back into the town.
Oh, that's creative.
Wow. Reverse annexation.
But actually, no, it doesn't matter.
That would be
because
called secession, wouldn't it?
Maybe
But actually, it wouldn't make a difference because they set the rates and they charge.
Actually, they would be worse.
Right, because then you get 150% above the increased rate. Consider yourself lucky.
Actually, but you are in the village.
He's in the village, but he's a high user, so when
I
they
see.
set the rate, the tiered rate for high users, I don't think they realized Woodland Pond was being caught in the net that they were, and
Boy, they did.
Woodland Pond got, hammered.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if there's a way, oh my God, I don't know if there's a way that you could try to go talk with them and,
I have a meeting with Jason next week.
mhm,
I'm going to talk to him. I figured that'll start the ball rolling this.
mhm,
We gotta do something.
right. Joey, I'm glad to see you. I actually was looking for your cell phone number to call you to ask you a question and couldn't find it, but then I saw you were sort of like away starting tonight, so.
Right over here.
Well, thank you for coming. We could use you tonight. Well, I know I got the email back with you responding to my question, but then there's probably going to be some other questions that might be asked, and I wasn't able to get you on a different question, so that's why I was going to try to call you, but it didn't happen. But you're here, so thank you. You must have known I wanted you. Oh, you're welcome. Mhm. Well, I tried to explain to her that we weren't having a conversation, we were just adopting the rates that we were forced to have to adopt.
5 people listening to every word you said.
7:26.
Did you do that during the course of the meeting? No.
Good evening.
See, wait.
What?
And you now discover this skill? You now discover this?
Who knows what great undiscovered skills lie beneath the surface here, you know? I could join the circus. Oh, no, I am in the circus.
We did.
Oh, okay.
We opened it,
I've never
they
been
supposed
to
to
a board
close.
meeting, and I read about everybody, but I don't know really who's who.
Oh.
So do you have names? Or
I'm sorry, no, we do.
Or could you introduce yourself?
No, actually, thank you very much, because we do have nameplates, we just forgot to bring them down. So I will go get them.
Okay.
Yes, I know. You know what, Kev, here, you need
You're off, so?
I don't think it is because I left my pocketbook in there. So you just need this key for Carol's and for mine. Thank you.
So did you get to do all the vouchers?
Oh, yes, there's a few more that have to be done. I don't think she realized.
Did I get to do what?
Any vouchers?
No, because they weren't there.
They're out there now. They're out there now. What happened, they are there now. Because
Okay,
Jean,
I said I would be here Wednesday and I would do them. It takes me 5 to 5.5 hours. I'm not doing it
I can
till
account
4
for
in
it.
the
I come
morning.
in, I have lunch, I go out, I have coffee, I do my laundry, I come back, she's still here.
Right? Then she goes home and she says, I have to make us a peach go. Okay, now I'm still here. Yeah, it's like a limited time frame.
Kevin, did you get to do the vouchers?
Excuse me?
Did you
Kevin
get
did
to?
the
Okay, so we just need signatures on,
oh, some of them.
Okay.
The ones that.
I got some of them.
It's not gonna be here. Susan Zimmett, Jean Belucci, Kitty Brown, Kevin Barry.
Y'all might want to just move down a little bit and stay as far away from me as you can. Typhoid Kitty here.
you ever,
Actually, that's interesting.
Susan, did you ever get a response on that voucher for 4 nights? No.
These are very powerful microphones. So,
I didn't approve.
you've been warned.
I know.
Should I ask him?
You got 1.5 minutes. Are we on?
Just a video, so people know if you're your audio's cut off.
Okay. I'll make a statement about why Jeff's not here.
Yeah, let's go through it. Let's go. Let's start it. Ready? This clock says,
We'll look at that one.
yeah, but this one is past that.
Oh, okay. Which one do we want to watch? I'm looking at that one.
7:30 right now.
It is, okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Everybody please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. I would like to welcome everybody to tonight's town board meeting. I would like to just acknowledge that Councilman Logan is not here due to the death of his father. So we just want to send our wishes from the town board to the Logan family and to Councilman Logan, our sympathies and our best wishes to them, and may his father rest in peace.
And I'd like to make a motion that we open and convene this meeting in honor of John Logan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion so carried. Okay, before we do announcements and public comment, I need to add to the agenda the adoption of the water and sewer rates, a conversation on the website proposal, and a proposal on a grants writer. So if we could just add those, then could I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
So moved.
The second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'll just do a quick announcement, then we'll do public comment, and then we'll get into the meeting. The one announcement that I have right now is the New Paltz Rabies Clinic offered by the Town of New Paltz Dog Control Officer and the Town Clerk's Office. A rabies clinic for dogs and cats will be held on Wednesday, April 24th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at Town Highway Garage, 1 Clearwater Road, New Paltz. Vaccinations for rabies, distemper, and heartworm will start at $10 each, administered by Dr. Lori Stein, the traveling veterinarian. Rabies certificates will be presented at the completion of the vaccination. These certificates are essential for licensing dogs where they reside, as required by New York State law. Dogs must be leashed and cats must be in carriers. New Paltz dog licensing will be done by a staff member of the clerk's office, and for questions, please call 255-0100, extension 1. And if anybody would like copies of the notice, I have some right here. So I don't know, are there any other announcements that need to be made?
Clean Sweep. Clean Sweep, I'm just going to get the address to register. Clean Sweep, April 27th.
Clean Sweep is April 27th. It starts at 8 o'clock at St. Joseph's, where you come and you register at St. Joe's, and then they basically tell you, after they serve you breakfast and do some speeches, then they'll send you out to different parts of the community to clean.
And you can register at...
Okay. So New Paltz Clean Sweep, Saturday, April 27th, 8:30. Make it cleaner, make it greener. One morning to come together and clean up our community. All ages welcome. Breakfast treats, gloves, and garbage bags provided. Meet at St. Joseph's Church Community Room, South Chestnut Street, Hasbrook Avenue, New Paltz. Advanced registration suggested 255-5636. or you can email Susan Stegen at shstegen@att.net. And you can always call Town Hall, and we can give you this
But
information.
there's a really good site too. You can pre-register at www.newpulse.edu/careers/clean sweep.
Are there any other announcements?
That's it.
Okay. We're going to open up now for public comment. And I just want to make just a quick statement before public comment. At our last meeting, we had somebody comment about responses from the board relative to public comment. And there is going to be a policy from this board from this moment on that we want to hear from the public. We welcome the public coming. We want to hear anything that the public has to say. However, if misinformation is presented to the public, it's the obligation of this board to correct the misinformation and...
By the public?
Excuse me?
You mean by the public?
By the public. If the public comes and presents information that we know as board members working on it, that it's misinformation that's being presented, it's our obligation to correct it so we don't create more problems than there already are. So I just want to state that, please come, speak. We welcome public input, but if somebody is going to give misinformation, we are going to correct it. So with that said, would anybody like to speak? Sure. And what we need you to do is go up and give your name, and also so the camera can grab you. Thank you.
My name is Kathleen Rivera. I'm a resident of New Paltz for 9.5 years. This is a letter to Ms. Simmet and the New Paltz Board. We, the seniors and volunteers who attend the Thursday lunch at the community center, miss Marilyn Lynn Vitale. It was Lynn's energy, interest, enthusiasm, and concern for us seniors that made the program so well received and appreciated. Lynn took her role seriously and always provided encouragement and love. Newcomers felt welcome. Lynn looked for programs and speakers of interest to our group that were fun, but within a very small budget or for free. In addition, she also arranged trips within the valley with much care and foresight to keep the cost to a minimum. Lynn's job was much more than keeping the lunch program going. It also entailed keeping the extra programs and classes running that were within reach to all New Paltz residents. Lynn was a wonderful light at the community center. We seniors believe that Lynn's salary for her work of 4 days a week would not hurt the town budget. We feel it is an insult to this wonderful lady that you, Ms. Simmet, and the other board members obtain raises shortly after Lynn's elimination. We hope that someone from your office, Ms. Simmet, or from the board had said thank you to Lynn for the wonderful job she did. Please take to heart what we are saying. The seniors and other members who attend the community center, including the volunteers, wish that you, Ms. Simmet, and the town board would reinstate Lynn Vitale to her former position at our town community center. We hope you will take our concerns to your next meeting for discussion with the board. We hope to soon see Lynn back in her role at the New Paltz Community Center. I'm submitting the 2 letters, one for Ms. Simmet and one to the board, and there are attached signatures from those volunteers. Now, I have not covered any of the other classes and people that worked there, but there were many people concerned. And I appreciate your time, and we feel that it's a void, a terrible void, and I'm sorry that other people have to be stressed and do the job that she did, and that was Chuck. And there's only 2 volunteers that come to the office for half days, 2 days a week, and if they're on vacation, nobody is there. So I think that since I met you before and your concern was about the seniors, not just seniors in one particular group, but the seniors of New Paltz, I think that this is just gone out the window. And so we're struggling there, a couple of people are struggling there. We're doing a pretty good job of cleaning up after lunch. But I think it's gone. And I think the community center there is not used as a good community center. There are towns with less budgets that make this community center look like nothing. There are community centers that have good programs and do a much better job than this one. So this was just part of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out, and not necessarily all decisions made by us are sometimes the right ones, but thank you. Would anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, Hector Rodriguez, Main Street, New Paltz. I'm actually coming here to talk to you guys tonight about two things. First, a resolution that I believe is before you tonight with regards to the merger of Central Hudson and Fortis Inc. It's actually something that has really come to the forefront probably the past 2 weeks. There's been a core group that really has been examining the issue and examining really several of the problems of this potential merger. The least of which is not that, of course, we need to have a Canadian company owning our own local utility, which of course covers about almost 400,000 customers, almost about 600,000 people. It's a real troubling problem at this point. This is a company that unfortunately is not really providing a lot in community benefits. They have no real commitment to alternative energy. As a matter of fact, they're probably more interested in additional gas extraction. That seems to be their policy in other areas of the world. You know, it's really not a great deal for the Hudson Valley and for New Paltz and Ulster County. Now, Ulster County has passed the resolution, actually passed unanimously, 17-0 to 4. The 4 abstentions were people who own stock in Central Hudson. So
They could have voted against it.
that's what I
stopping
said.
them.
Maybe I should just bring you with me next time. Kidding. Rosedale has passed a similar resolution. I believe other communities are looking at it, but of course, we turn to New Paltz and to be part of this group because we lead. The other thing I want to basically address is the regatta. I know that that's probably something you guys may be looking at tonight in terms of police protection. Clearly, we need to have police protection for the regatta, and I hope that we can find the money within the budget. If not, we really should be looking at fundraising for it because we need to be able to have the regatta. I mean, this is one of those New Paltz events that we have, and it's a really great one for our community. So, thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else would like to speak? Okay, Paul, if you could come up and...
Thank you for holding this public comment session. I know it's not, I don't think it's required by law, but it's again,
Well, we like to be abused.
it's iconic of our I do want to thank you all for your service. I also am mindful, Supervisor Zimmer, about your announcement when we opened, so I have a comment, but it's going to have a question mark at the end, but I do not expect an answer right now. Maybe it'll weave itself into your future comments, but I respect that, and having tried to run many meetings, some of them contentious, I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it is the listening time. So, the comment that's going to have a form of question is, I'm trying to get on the town's Wi-Fi system, and I don't know how to.
You can't.
What?
You can't.
Why?
Our web person has not wanted to allow outsiders to have access to Wi-Fi when they're in here because of some security reasons. So there's a lot of work we have to do in terms of our web stuff and our IT, which even the controller sort of brought to our attention in terms of issues and problems. So it's a bigger issue than just getting onto Wi-Fi. But you're not the first person who's asked, and we'll have to try to figure out a way of how to allow people to do it without it impeding on the security of the system. But it's our IT person who hasn't allowed it as of yet.
Thanks. Now, they do have one in the village?
They do, and somehow they have it in a way that where it bypasses their system, but their IT person's not our IT person.
Given consolidation?
Then we'll use their IT person and we'll get Wi-Fi to everybody. You think that'll help?
Well, it's just that we're supposed to be acting like we're consolidated now, and I think there's a close relationship with the village, so I'm not sure why it's taking so much
Well, no, it's just a matter, they don't have an IT person, they have a different IT person than we do. And when they have a different system, they have a different server, a different system, a different IT person, different building. Our IT person, for whatever reason, has not allowed us to give people an ability to access Wi-Fi in this room. But there might be a way to try to work it out. It's not me, it's the IT person.
Thanks.
Sure. Go ahead, sure, Bill.
Ms. Simmons, after I
Sure.
got done speaking, you said something which I didn't say. You said something like,
I said not all the decisions we make might necessarily be right.
oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So if sometime you can talk to me publicly or privately, I'd like to know more what you think about that subject of the elimination of her position. Miss, you don't have to use the time now because I gave you a thing to read, but I would like to hear from you.
Sure.
And another thing, I met you at New Paltz Gardner Senior Club about
A couple of months ago.
few months ago, more than 6 months ago, and we gave our, myself and 3 other persons gave our names for a possible senior task force, and we haven't heard from you. And then I stopped down here a month ago, and someone took my name and again, but I haven't heard. I know you've been busy, but I thought maybe it would be nice not to be too ignored.
No, that's okay, and I appreciate that, and it is actually something that I've been wanting to get. I mean, actually, at the beginning of the year, when we were setting up committees, I actually did try to get a board member to help me with it, and everybody's so overloaded on the board that nobody was able to take that responsibility on. So I haven't had the chance, but Carol and I have talked about it, and we did set money aside for it. So we will get going.
Ms. Rivera, I just want to correct one of the things you said. Maybe you're not aware of the fact, but board members did not, in fact, get raises. We did not authorize raises for individual board members. We did not do that.
Did you get raises?
No.
No, the board didn't.
No.
I did get a stipend and a small raise. I don't make the money everybody thinks I make by any means. People think I make $70,000. I don't. I make $50,000. But I did get a stipend for this year for all the work that I'm doing this year, and a stipend from last year.
No, I
But-
don't know. It's
and none of the board members.
It's out there.
It's
Well, that's important.
It's
Well,
incorrect.
part of that's why we're saying that we want to start correcting things, because there's a lot of things out there that are not necessarily true. And so at a certain point, during public comment, usually the public just speaks. But then if we don't correct the misinformation, it becomes reality, and it's not.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
but I will call you. I do. We will. I mean, okay. Anybody else who would like to speak? Okay, with that, then we will close public comment and start the meeting. So I think what we're going to do is we'll start with, we do have 2 guests here. We have our chief and we have our undersheriff. And I know our undersheriff, I think, as I understand, is here to deliver a check. Is that true? That's correct. So why don't we invite him up first? We've got 2 police commissioners. I think Randall's here and Ira. And so if you want to, I don't know, be a part of this. And we have our chief, and we have the undersheriff.
Pursuant to the seizure relationship.
Am I?
For a photo op. They're small, but they have a good
Go ahead, if you want to go up, Ira. But talking to the microphone,
It's not the clearinghouse check that everybody was hoping. But someday, as long as we keep going, hopefully we'll hit one of those. We've had a conversation about the disbursement of urgent funds from federal seizures. Town of New Paltz has always been a part of urgent and continues to be a part of urgent. We appreciate that. And for those of you who don't know what urgent is, it's the Ulster Regional Gang Enforcement Narcotics Team. And the men and women of that team are made up of police officers from different police departments throughout the county, probation, and members of ICE. So we go just about everywhere in the county that drugs and gangs are. As a result of the hard work of the men and women of that task force, we've been very successful with seizures. Tonight we're here to disperse some money back to the towns as a result of those seizures. We've had communication that allowed us to really talk about how much money we could leave in the account to keep urgent up and running at no cost to the taxpayers for the buy money and equipment that we can buy also. And that doesn't come back to the town. We can provide your town police officers with equipment at no additional cost to you because of the money through drug dealers. This has been a long process. Through the process, it's gone through the comptroller's office under Elliot Auerbach. It's gone through the executive's office under Michael Hine. It's gone through the district attorney's office under Holly Carnwright, and it's gone through the sheriff's office under Sheriff Van Blarkum. So tonight, after it's gone through everybody, I am very...
Everyone?
Everybody. I am proud to present you with 2 checks, actually. One check for $5,000, which can be used for certain purposes. It can't be used for sidewalks, it can't be used for parks, it can't be used for general fund commingling. It cannot be commingled with town funds. It has to be used in your seizure account, and there's federal guidelines in place of how that money can be spent. So that's the first check.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but what's the bigger check?
That was the bigger check.
No, you're just messing with me. Come on, Joe.
Now the second,
Tell them how I am.
you want a bigger check? You can put zeros on here, I don't think.
$52,800. How's that for a number?
What?
That's a great number. You should play it, and hopefully you'll win that in the lottery system. But that's not what the second check.
Okay, go ahead.
When Urgent first got up and running, there were only a handful of townships that reached into their general funds to give us money to get up and running. The Ulster County Legislature, the town of Ulster, and the town of New Paltz were the only people to give us a check out of the general funds and their contingency funds. So tonight, I give you back the money you gave us to get started, which is $1,500.
Thank you.
Thank you. And how symbolic that Legislator Rodriguez and I are both here, who were there to help get the Urgent Task Force started.
You both were, and I thank you for that. One of the things that I will remind you is that there is an MOU that has to be signed, a new MOU, so we can continue our partnership. You've got that in your email. Hopefully that can be on next month's.
And actually, since the chief is here, we did have it on our agenda last month to get it done. And there was a question asked by Councilman Logan, who's not here tonight, but that was one of the reasons I was trying to call the chief before he got here tonight, because actually the urgent contract's back on the agenda again to try to get the answer to what Jeff had asked, so we could discuss it tonight and hopefully approve it tonight, if not next week. So the question I think had been was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kitty, was to try to just sort of understand when the cost to the town in terms of backfilling for the officers when the officer is taken to go and serve with the Urgent Task Force. And I think some members of the board just wanted to understand that before we moved forward on approving the new contract.
Yeah, basically the way it works with the way we have our schedule, if we do not have to backfill is how we generally schedule when we have an extra officer on the shift based on rotation. So when we have that situation come up, then we will schedule an officer. It's one officer usually, you don't bounce them around because of the training that they get also while they're at urgent. And plus they get involved in cases, so you don't want to just send different officers up. So one officer, which we've been on the urgent team for a while now, when we were down some patrol with, for a while we did not replace it or have him going up there. So now he's back, and again we have 3 or more people on the tour, and depending on the day of the week, we'll send the person to work urgent, which is in the contract also, so we can move him from this tour without any conflict or issues with the PVA. He'll attend and work that way. This way there's virtually no cost. We can move him also to work the hours that the urgent team is working, and if there's any details that are running where he is needed, there'll be times where we may backfill to send him, but that's very minimal. If there's time where that officer gets overtime, we also keep track on that, and I believe that's something new, again, because of the seized account with the urgent team, that they will actually reimburse the town on the overtime. So we will keep track of any overtime that is spent for the officer that's up there.
I think another question was, are we still asked to make the annual contribution, the $1,500 that we just got back? Should we put that in a special account to send back to you for next year?
No, ma'am, that's the $52,800. No, actually, we asked for no contribution from you. That was what was actually put out, not even the dollar amount was ever put out. We said if there's any towns that could contribute and help us get this up and running, and New Paltz was generous enough to say, we can give you $1,500. And at that time, that was a lot of money for us to get it up and running. It's been highly successful. We've seized hundreds of thousands of dollars since then, and we continue to buy equipment, cars, and use the money for buy money that would have been taxpayer money, so that we can go out and make narcotic and gun purchases.
We have an Audi you might be interested in.
Well, there's-
No? Oh.
Then we're going to talk about that tonight. That's on the agenda for tonight.
Yeah, that's already been seized once. We don't.
Yeah, it has been seized once. You're absolutely right. It was seized.
But no, there will be no cost to the town to participate. Quite honestly, I can tell you the way we're projecting it right now, there will only be money coming back to the town. There will be no request to the town for money.
Let's just for a quick back, it was what, about 6 years ago that Urgent got started?
Started it in March of 2007, yes.
Okay, and so Kitty, just, so when they did start it, they came to the legislature, and like Frank said, they came to a few towns to ask for us to...
I was on the board here when we first made that
So you did that, and so,
allocation.
a few of us at the legislature of the town supported it, but that was the only time the town ever gave money, or the legislature, but, well, we might have
It
done
was in our budget for a couple of years.
Did you give 1,500 every year?
It was at 1,000 for one or two of those years.
I think we were talked to about another check, and then it was unable to be done because of the town's financial situation.
I do remember allocating it more than once, but I don't know if it did go through the controller and the executive, or maybe, who knows where it
I'm
is.
only the law enforcement end.
Okay.
Regular financial lines.
Anyway, we're very glad you're doing such a good job.
Would you, gentlemen, just hold on a second? I think
So I guess,
we're going to have a picture taken so we can memorialize this moment.
I guess they want a picture for the paper of them handing the actual check to
Are
us.
you going to be in it? So that
Yes, but I'd like the rest of the board to be in it. Can I be the rest of the board also?
Oh, that's fine. There's plenty of people up there.
Well, no, he's got it here.
Do you want to get one of those big cardboard things?
Don't print it up right now. Whatever the supervisor wants.
The lottery is now
Money, say,
52 million.
This is
Say.
new for me, so I'm just a newbie, so I don't even know how to operate this.
Maybe Michael can do it better.
hit click.
Just click.
Yeah, just don't have your finger, okay.
And this, the entire police commission is, and the,
You know, if you had Wi-Fi, it would be quick.
if I had Wi-Fi, if I had Wi-Fi, great ones.
Ira?
If I had Wi-Fi, Deb Alexa could be watching, she'd pick the one.
Right, there you go.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, people need you to stay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. So,
Good job. Good job.
This is a successful program.
do we want to wait for Jeff, or can I make a motion authorizing the supervisor to sign the urgent agreement on behalf of the police department? Does anybody want to second that?
Sure, I'll second it.
I don't feel uncomfortable for us doing it tonight because I think the questions were answered, and I think
Just wanted answers.
he just wanted the answers. and
Are
I
you
think the answers are
comfortable?
satisfactory, yeah.
Okay. So then that was my motion.
So we have a motion and a second to authorize the supervisor to enter into the MOU for the continuation of Urgent and the town of New Paltz participating. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion so carried. So
Thank
now
you.
I can sign the contract and get it to you.
I'll come down tomorrow and pick it up.
I won't be here tomorrow, so come down Monday to pick it
I'll
up.
see you Monday. It would have to be from my account. Good night. Good night.
2,800.
Yeah, I'm going to mail you one of those.
One is restricted and one goes
Right.
Joe, have a safe trip.
One doesn't.
Thank you.
What's next?
One is the general fund, back to the reimbursements, back to the general fund, and the, which actually means maybe we can pay for a parade tonight. Okay, so,
We could ask for more.
okay, so we actually, if I'd like the chief and the commission to come up real, so we can do, we have the Audi sale. No, you just guys have to use the microphone, so take this over. And why don't you explain to the camera, to the public, what this is about and what you're asking the board to do?
Before I do that, I would like to, on behalf of the commission, offer condolences to Councilmember Logan on the loss of his dad. He will be missed. He was a vocal and a loud voice in our community, and John will be missed. And I wanted to offer the condolences to the commission.
Thank you. Can you talk into the microphone, because you can't really...
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. A couple of things. The first is we don't have a check for $52,000.
So can you please leave?
She's worse than me.
But we do as a result of you know, we have an Audi that was seized a number of years ago that we are now looking to dispose of, and we have sent it out to an individual company that has offered to purchase the car for the sum of $10,050. They will give us a check and come and pick it up, and we will be done with it. And the commission's recommendation to the town board is to accept that offer and sell that car and be done with it, and return those funds back to the seized asset account for use for the police department to continue to buy equipment and services and stuff like that. So that's the first thing.
And let's just remind everybody that we actually did put the car up for auction, and nobody bid on it.
That's
which
correct.
is why you're recommending this other
Correct.
alternative.
Correct.
Which we can legally do.
Yes, we actually,
Who is the company?
Hold on.
Okay, well, go ahead, what were you
No,
going to say?
Chris knows.
FLB. Yes. Lease disposal.
Okay.
Right.
And there were actually, I received that company from Chris. It was one of the companies that they deal with.
Talking to the mic, these ones you have to talk pretty, you have to
What is that?
kiss to it.
Oh, you
really want that one?
Then you have to sing Volare, right?
I will.
Okay.
I've actually tried that at a commission meeting. I was told I couldn't do
Didn't
that.
go over. huh?
You can do it here.
After my vacation. We checked with 3 companies. That was one that came from Chris. The company basically give pictures, mileage, VIN number. Based on that and what the vehicle appears like, they make an offer. Another company that we checked was one that Jeff Logan spoke with, which is a auction company that is similar to eBay except for municipal equipment, including vehicles, file cabinets, anything you have to sell, it's a nice website. The issue with that company is they take 12.5% that they either charge the municipality or whoever's buying it, or it could be split. But needless to say, it comes off the value of what the car is.
You know what I think that is, right?
No, tell me.
No, I can't. Go ahead.
Speak into the microphone.
So
Gigi
at
likes
any rate, so we looked at that
very clean
cost.
deals.
And then we also checked with just a local dealer that what they would offer on a bid, which was quite a bit less than that. So in speaking about the 3 options with the commission, they chose to go with this, and it seems to be a quick, clean deal. Basically where we're at is they would send a check to the town or a money order, and once you have it and it clears, they come and pick the vehicle up.
Who has to sign? Supervisor?
The supervisor signs.
I move that we authorize the supervisor to sell, what year is the vehicle?
A 2004 Audi.
A 2004 Audi A8
Audi, tomato.
for $10,050.
Correct.
Do I have a second?
I will second that if the payment comes in the form of money order or certified check, period.
Will you accept the amendment?
Absolutely.
Is the amount 10,500 or
50.
10,050?
50.
Okay.
And just for your information, when we put it out to bid here, auction,
Yeah.
I think it was 11.5 that
Right.
we were asking, and we got.
Right, and we also
bid,
had it
so-
on public
Isn't it a
access
good
TV
price?
for a while.
It's a
And
darn good
if I
price.
think the book value was like 10,500, somewhere around there?
Yeah.
It's right around there, so they're paying us basically what the book value is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
The book value, which is why we
Aye.
made it, was 11.5. but
Okay.
then
Aye.
Okay.
All,
Aye.
aye.
Okay.
All in favor?
Motion so carried.
All in favor? Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
I said motion so
Aye.
carried.
Next item.
Okay, the other item, which I think we cleared up, was the transfer. We're not asking for the transfer. We don't want the transfer for the funds for the dog for this year. But we wanted to make sure that we had made a request last year that funds be transferred from the seized assets account for the K-9, for training and their supplies and so on and so forth. And we just wanted to make sure that those funds for our request in 2011 did in fact hit the books for 2012 for the K-9. And I thought we talked
What
about
the
it at the
heck
commission meeting.
are you talking about? 2011 money for 2012?
You can't do that.
I think what you're talking about is 2012 seized asset money. You wanted, it's a
I thought
transfer.
It was not.
You wanted a transfer in the fiscal year 2012.
No, we don't want to no.
Are you asking to
We-
continue a process that you employed
No, what I'm
before?
asking is whether or not the request that was made in 2011 for the transfer in 2012, in fact, was made. Is that right?
That's what we were checking on.
That's what we're checking. We're just checking.
Okay.
It was made in 2011. We just want to know if the money was in fact
The
put into
request was made in 2011 for money to be transferred in 2012.
Correct. And we just want to know if in fact that transfer had been made. We're not making a request
Oh, okay.
for now. We just want to make sure it was
I don't
moved.
know. I was not on the board in 2011,
I mean-
so I don't know what your request was.
There's only one person who could answer that question quickly, and that would be our bookkeeper.
Okay.
So we'll have to look into it.
I do remember the police commission asking for a transfer in early 2012 to transfer that K-9 money for the fiscal year 2012. That's not the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's the
okay.
2012.
I know what you're talking about then.
Okay.
Okay. And
It
you-
just wasn't done in 2011 or whatever.
Okay.
Excuse me, the request was made in 2011.
Okay, but then,
Speak, you got to talk into the microphone.
but
because of,
then you came back to the board in early 2012 because you saw it hadn't been moved yet.
Right, and you
Okay.
looked into it and made sure that we got the transfer done. But the difference is it was a 2012 transfer, but it was requested in 2011. That's, you know, and it just never got to it.
But you're saying Jean checked that the transfer was made, so if she checked it was made.
No. So what he's saying is the transfer was made within fiscal year 2012. What they had really needed was a transfer also within the year of 2011. Okay, I can't tell you if you got your transfer for the K-9 in the fiscal year 2011 because I was not on the board in 2011.
That transfer should have been
Yeah,
made in
please.
2011.
But we can't go back, so please.
I would like to clarify it. In 2011, when we were working on a 2012 budget, this is when we agreed to reduce the overtime rate in the budget that we were requesting for 2012. And what we agreed in 2011 for 2012 is to move the overtime amount of money for the K-9 into our fund, our overtime fund, so that we can pay for the dog. That would reduce the amount of, I think it was $8,500 or $8,900 worth of training money. And that would come from the C's account, which can be used for it. In beginning of 2012, Commissioner Margolis asked if that transfer was made for 2012. And we'd see whether or not that ever took place in 2012. I know it's now 2013, so you know, with all the personnel change last month, the good thing is I didn't go over budget in the overtime line anyway.
Wow.
But nothing has been set for 2013, so I think they're just checking and requesting, did it ever take place, the transfer in 2012?
So Chief, just to clarify that, it didn't come from an overtime account for the dog, it came from a seized asset account
Correct.
to be applied
Right.
to costs associated with the dog.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
But if it did, even if it didn't happen, they're okay anyway, because you'll see tonight that we have all the transfers to, you know, net out the year.
Can I just say, this is not on our agenda?
No,
This is
it's
not
not.
a
I
question that we can actually
Yeah.
answer, but we will, but just
Okay.
not here.
Yes, and you can
Okay?
come to tell me what you wanted on the agenda, Randall, so I should slap your
I'm
hand.
sorry, okay.
Because you already made us
Here.
change the agenda 2 times after it got sent
There
out.
we go, okay.
But you can't leave, because
But I
what
was-
is on the
I
agenda,
just wanted to make, you know, I
So
asked.
parades and events.
Parades and events.
right, so that was on the agenda. Now,
Kitty, you're going to be the whip, okay?
Me and Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
and Hector Rodriguez,
Okay,
well, he's the whip for the legislature for the Democrats.
all right.
Okay, what's the next item?
Back in, I have it right here, if you give me a second. We had, in our, it was our May 17th meeting, and I guess I have to ask Councilwoman Brown if she knows, at one time, way back, the town would approve parades, and that was it. You know, we paid for the police, we paid for the overtime, we approved the parades, end of story. At some point, the village got brought into the approval process where they approve parades, then it gets sent to the town, and we sort of get stuck paying for the police or having
The
to...
town did not actually have a role in that, and we developed one with the help of the chief. But prior to the point in time that you're talking about, which I cannot pinpoint, basically the process was that people would submit a request to the village, because most parades take place on Main Street, and that request would get forwarded to the police to be reviewed for safety, and would get approved or not approved. And the town was never part of any of that process.
Well, no, actually, prior to, I guess, you being on the board, I can only talk during, you know, my only experience of my last tenure. When my last tenure was such that it was only the town, the village was never involved in approving
Okay, well,
parades.
that
That's why I'm
was
trying to
not the
wonder when
case.
the village got them. So then it had to be between when you came on
Right.
and
Okay.
I
But in
went
any
off.
case, at some point, we realized that there was a significant amount of overtime and police time on this. And actually, Joe had suggested at one point, and we were never really able to follow up on it, that we talk about getting volunteers to help with safety and traffic control. But in any case, we began to ask for a pretty modest contribution for the safety review. And that's where it is right now.
So can I ask Chief a question on this? Chief, is the actual process in place now that if you want to run a parade, you have to go to the village and get a permit?
Correct.
All right, so you have to apply for a permit from the village.
Yes.
And then a fee is paid for that, correct?
The fee is paid to the town now. That's the new
All right,
process.
so the fee is paid to the town, not to the
But
village
only
for
it's
the
like
permit.
$25.
Well, $25 if you're a local nonprofit.
Okay, and
New
then,
Paltz nonprofit.
then it goes to your office for a review of staffing?
Correct.
All right.
And for safety issues and for route information.
And when you get that request, do you put a dollar amount on the cost to the town in terms of your staffing cost?
No, we've never done that.
Is there a general rule that you would apply for any particular parade in terms of what the cost is to the town?
No, that's never been an issue.
Do you know what the cost is to the town?
I can tell you right now that the Little League Parade would be $1,300. It's 13 members at 2 hours. 13 members, 2 hours, $50 per member and whatever, $1,300. And that already assumes that they have 2 officers and a sergeant for patrol on duty. So these are the people they're bringing in for overtime, right? For the Pride Parade, it's also $1,300. and that's assuming that they have scheduled 2 officers and 1 sergeant for patrol. So again, this is bringing in 13 extra people at overtime to be able to close the road so you could have the parade. The regatta is $1,400, 11 members, which includes a lead officer on the parade supervision, 10 police officer posts, 2 DPW, 4 New Paltz Fire Department, and 10 barricades. And the cost that the police figured out for their cost alone would be $1,400.
Okay.
So those are the 3 parades that are in front of us right now that are being asked to get approval from us. I just do want to go back that in May of this year, we did talk about this because of the problems with the village approving parades and then getting it sent to us. And then, you know, if we don't have the money in the budget and then we end up saying, no, we're the bad guys, and it's a really uncomfortable position for us to be put in, and it's an uncomfortable position for the police to be put in. And so we had said at the May meeting, we talked about this, and we as a board had said that we were willing to pay for the Halloween and the Memorial Day parade, because those are total town parades. And that if the village wanted to have other parades, that they should be paying for the cost for the police protection, or to have, you know, work with the organizations to come up with the money to pay for it, but that for them to approve parades without knowing what's in our budget or not in our budget creates real hardship for us and puts us in a really difficult shape. So that's what we did in May. When the chief prepared his budget this year, as we were asking everybody to start with 0 and -10, you know, he did hold down his overtime cost and didn't necessarily put in it for any parade specifically. And I don't even know if you really believe you have enough money for any parade, not parade. I don't know. I did email him today to ask him, you know, sort of where we were at so we could discuss it.
Yeah, we reduced the overtime because of this topic, and that was one of the cuts that we made. So the potential of going over budget in the overtime line, if we now approve the parades, is very possible.
And I just want to add that we looked at this for you guys, I believe last year on the commission, and I think to speak directly to your question, I think the chief calculated that the year that we looked at it, it was $7,000 to $10,000 in overtime that was incurred by the town for the parades that were being done.
Can we use our seized asset cash to offset the costs of hiring police?
I don't know if you can.
I don't think so.
I don't think you're allowed
Sure?
to for
Not
that.
for that,
Okay.
no.
Federal guideline.
Ira, if you want to join us, you have to come to the table and use the
I
microphone,
just
please.
wanted, because you had asked the commission to look into this, and we did. And
It's okay, just bring a chair up and use the microphone. That's all I'm asking you to do.
last year, the commission was asked to look into the cost that you were asking for, Kevin, of how much it costs for a parade. We sat down, we spent a fair amount of time looking and sitting with the chief at what it would cost for an average parade and whatever. We came up with dollar amounts, not to charge for police, because you can't do that, but we can certainly charge for permits. So what we came up with was roughly between, depending upon what kind of an organization you were, we kind of varied it. But basically, if you were an outside organization, let's say like the Gay Pride Parade, you had to pay more because you're not contributing to the to the basic. And if you were not for profit or for profit, we felt it didn't make a difference because, well, no, it's the same amount whether you're not for profit or not or a profit. That was just our feeling on it. I mean, we turned the report into the supervisor, but the idea is if you look at what they're asking for now, we came up with roughly between $1,300 and $1,600 per event, depending upon the size. So we looked at events like the Gay Pride Parade, like we looked at events like the Little League thing. When you have 10 people, it's not quite the same thing, all right? And based upon what we were told, as Susan just said, we recommended that the town continue paying for those 2 parades because those were town parades. If you remember the problem we had with the village says nobody's going to tell us who we can send on the street and when, and we'll do what we want, and we'll get the state to do it. My reaction then at the time when I was on the commission was, go ahead, call the state up. You're paying the state the same as you pay the town. You pay the state, you pay the county, call them up and tell them, demand from them that you want this protection. Then it was, well, we'll get the UPD. And I said, go ahead. The UPD says they're not going to do it. Susan was trying very hard to work out some kind of a agreement with the village, because they approve any parade for anybody who comes in, particularly if you're from the outside, and that's the problem, is that the residents have to be inconvenienced and hurt and pay the expense for people who come into the community knowing that the village will say, yes, go ahead, and their places where they live tell them no. But we were looking at it in terms of fees, not charging for the police, which we're entitled to do. I just wanted to give them the background of what we were looking at.
So we would charge a safety review fee for a certain
that's what we would call it, but we had set amounts of money.
Okay, thank you, Ira.
You just stay, why don't you just stay here, Ira, because you probably don't want to talk, so just stay here. One of the things that I do know from having the conversations with Little League and with, Deb Roush from the Regatta and whatever, that when you start to have the conversation, it's not like it's not understood. It's just that, you just approve things and you don't talk about the bigger picture. Why should anybody say anything? But when Little League came in to speak to me and we talked about the cost, and at that point I didn't realize it was $1,300. I didn't think it would be more than $500. The Little League said, look, we don't have a problem offsetting, if it's $500, we can offset it and give you the $500. They said, however, next year, what they might say now that they know that there's this cost with the police, they might say it's not worth it to have the kids walk down Main Street, that they'll just have the event at Hasbrook Park like they've been doing recently. I mean, in the past, when our kids were young, not your kids, but mine and Kitty's kids were young, they used to march around the high school field, if you remember correctly. They marched around the high school field, and then they had the tent set up there with the baseball players where they could get their autographs. Then we moved it down to the Field of Dreams when we inaugurated the Field of Dreams, and then at some point they started marching down Main Street. So they weren't adverse to saying, that in the future we'll just basically maybe do it at Hasbrook Park, because they understood. It's just like right now they do have the desire to do the parade this year. When I spoke with Deb Roush about the regatta, she said the same thing in the sense that right now they might need the money for the police, but in the future, they can try to fundraise to offset the cost for the police. So when you have the conversation, everybody understands. I think the biggest problem is, first and foremost, setting a policy where, either if we're going to be in charge of parades, we're in charge of parades, or if the village is going to be in charge of parades, then we need to ask the village, when we speak about the village budget later on the agenda, that we have to say to the village, if you want to approve a parade, you have to figure out how you're going to come up, either you put money in your budget for the police cost, or you have to work out with that organization how the police cost is going to be approved. But you can't have one government approving expenses for another government to have to pay without us having any say. It's just not a workable situation. So we have the situation right now where we have 3 parades, the Pride, the Little League, and the Regatta, that are asking for parades. Each one is about $1,300 to $1,400. We need, as a board, to decide where we want to go with these parades, and then, sort of tonight, if we can, sort of make a determination of how we want to move forward so we don't find ourselves in this situation again. So.
And I can tell you that I was there when the chief had the papers on his desk, and we talked about it, and he says, with the manpower that we have, we don't have the capability to do it. And honest to God, I said, then don't approve them. That was my comment to him. So, I'm just as culpable as he is.
I have a question about the route. Because I've heard from some downtown business owners that it is a hardship on them to have Main Street closed off on a Saturday, particularly. Would you need less officers if we were to go down Hasbrook and Plattekill to get to if you went from the middle school down Hasbrook, there just aren't as many roads that you have to block off, and you get to the same place. You just don't come down Main Street, but you would go from the middle school, which is where most of the parades begin, and come down Hasbrook. And then I know you have South Oakwood, maybe 1 or 2, but you don't have them from both sides that you have to block off. Would that?
The attraction to a parade in New Paltz is the fact that they want to go down Main Street. That has always been, because when we try to reroute somebody, they used to, years back, go all the way down to Route 208, some of the parades. and then back up Hasbrook off of 208. And that took even more manpower, plus it really shut down traffic coming through New Paltz because of the main highways where they connect down by Chestnut. So we stopped allowing that and said it has to end by Plattekill and back in Plattekill Avenue. So that has reduced some manpower. The truth of the matter is, I mean, all the parades, the people in these parades, the planners, they've done a wonderful job. We enjoy them, you know, just like the rest of the community does. It's just whether or not we can afford it. Our budget has been, as you know, been hit over the years because of the way the economy is. This is one of those things that, you know, we have to provide service for emergency service. This isn't one of those emergency service operations. It's a perk of what we do, which we enjoy to do. But again, it's one of the things that when we reduce our budget, that is something that we have to look at of not continuing. And again, by all means, it's not that we don't want to see us have the parade, but we understand the situation. We have, and one of the things that comes through with the application process is the route that they're going to use, and we only have 3 routes that they're allowed to do, because if sometimes they want to go down other streets and back to Main Street, and the cost factor can be there. Also, the cost that we put forward for $1,300 per parade, that would be with just our agency doing the detail. We do get volunteers, we just can't always count on it. The fire department, they volunteered for certain posts. We also get the state sheriffs, they assist. But the only thing is that if we're getting reimbursed for the New Paltz Police Service, I don't think it would be right that the state's sending somebody and the sheriff's sending somebody and they're not being reimbursed. That's why we spoke about that when we prepared how much it would be for each event. And really, you know, again, it's up to the board. The board had said that we weren't going to allow these parades. So, you know, whatever bottom line is we have an operational plan set up for all these events because we've been doing them for years. So the manpower that's used in order to set it up, make the contacts, you know, have people come in, that's not included in that. The sergeant usually does that during the course of his shift, but there is time in the preparation for the operational plan.
So now that we have that information, why don't we think about what we want to do, try to develop a policy rather than trying to do something tonight.
The only problem is that these 3 parades, the Little League parade would be April, I think? Like it's the opening day of baseball.
Do we have a meeting next week?
We do, although it's a joint, well, actually, we do have a meeting next week. It was supposed to be for the purpose, well, it was supposed to be a town board meeting, but we were willingly giving up our meeting again for the purposes of meeting with lawyers for the consolidation. Most of them want to come April 1st. There was one that could come next week, but they would probably be more than happy to come April 1st. So I was waiting to get all of them in, so we could probably schedule all on April 1st, and then just have our town board meeting next week. And
well, you know, the big problem is that once we actually took the step of itemizing the parts of our budgets that were pretty amorphous in the past, and we could actually understand how much individual components of a budget add up to, we end up with the really painful decisions. I mean, it's kind of like art and music in our public education system. Those are the things that go when you have to have a modified school budget. So this is where the rubber meets the road. I mean, do we want to allocate an extra $4,000 that is not in our budget for parades? I personally think that the Boy Scouts should volunteer to provide safety for the Pride Parade.
Should we give them badges and guns?
I would like to invite our local Boy Scouts to volunteer. I'm
out of character for her, wasn't it?
Why? You know, this is New Paltz. We are a very progressive community.
Yes.
Progressive.
And
regressive community.
I think it would be a wonderful symbol of unity, and would save us $1,300. and could earn somebody an Eagle badge.
Although I would love to work with the Boy Scouts and allow them to assist in many different things, you can't have them controlling the traffic on Main Street. You've been at the regatta.
I'm not talking about the regatta.
She's just talking about, the Pride Parade.
Again, you can't have them directing traffic,
I thought we could have volunteers.
We can use volunteers for the parking lots, the entranceways, and that is wonderful to use for. But when you're talking about a actual intersection, you can't.
Okay, so it has to be. So is that, what is the law that requires that a town provide police protection for any request for a parade?
Insurance law.
Well, that's
so,
if you approve,
I mean,
that's
but
if you
literally
approve
we could have a request every week for a parade, and we must provide traffic control?
No, I believe that it's up to the town and or village, in the jurisdiction to approve the routes. We just provide, basically if the town says, we want to approve this parade, I'll make sure that we have the roads protected for the community for the parade. It really comes down to the dollars, how it's going to be paid. If you tell me, it's going to be paid and you're going to take some money from your general fund and put it into the overtime, or you don't, hit me over the hand if I go over budget, I'll be happy to do whatever the board wants. But money is the issue.
And we also recommended when we did our original proposal, I think we kind of fattened up the processing fees for them, but I think they were deemed too much.
No, I think there's still $25 for a non.
No, they can't charge for the police. So what we did is we upped the processing. What we did was we upped the processing fees, Kitty. The processing fees that we upped came up to things like $1,300 to $1,500 for the parade, which is basically what you.
That's not in effect now.
No, because it didn't go anywhere. I was just answering your question. We boosted up the processing fees because you can't.
But that's not in effect now. That's a recommendation.
So that was like an application fee.
Right.
Okay, and so, but that was an application fee, and so someone could actually say, so I'm making an application, but it doesn't mean that the police chief, nor the town, nor the village is going to approve my parade, okay? So that's where I think that people would balk at a $1,300 or $1,500 application fee.
Well,
however, I think that this is something.
Could be refundable if it's not approved, though.
Wait, absolutely, but it's something we need to seriously consider for next week, because the way I see it, these parades are going to happen anyway. Last thing I want.
No, they're not going to happen anyway.
Well,
they can't happen unless they get approved, Gene.
They got approved by the village, correct?
But they got approved by the village, but there's a process in place where the village then sends it to the town collects the fee, we send it to the police for the police to approve, and ultimately then they make their recommendation, they send it back to the town, and then it goes from there. So technically the village, I guess, approved these parades. It went to the chief denied the parades, and now it's back in our lap.
And there's really a difference.
And he only denied the parade because he's saying he doesn't have money in his budget to do it.
It's a recommendation that I give. I can't actually approve or disapprove. I can recommend or not recommend. And I'm not recommending it because we don't have the manpower, funds to pay for manpower to come in and do it.
Right. So I thought that the process that had been put in place was that they came to the town first, paid their $25 fee, and it went to the police department, because otherwise how would the village board have known the route that they were going to take?
They put in their application what route they want. Well, I don't even know if they put in the route when they go to the village board. I don't think they do. They put in what route they want when they go to the village board. But part of the problem is that they go to the village board first, the village board approves it, they approve everything, because there's no liability to the village not to approve it, because there's no
cost.
There's no cost. So
is it possible, I mean, I know that a municipality can't solicit funds, but is it possible to have a parade fund?
Possibly. That was, did you write, somebody had just recently suggested that. About possibly, and I don't know if that was Paul, was that you? or somebody had written to me about the possibility of fundraising for parades for the community. But I don't know, we haven't gone there. But let me, Paul, did you want to say something? You have to come use the microphone, please. Yes.
Thank you, Randall. You're sitting. You felt sick. Okay. I hit 70 at August 25th. Okay. So I sit when I can, and I sup.
Thank you for...
You sup when you can?
Yes, I had a friend in London, a very friend, and he's a role model for me. He says, I sit with the left, and I sup with the right.
I don't understand, but it's getting late. We have a long meeting, so go ahead.
Explain that, Paul, will you please?
I get it.
I don't. Explain it to me later, so go ahead.
The right eat better than the left.
The left and the right. Or it could go the other way around. You can sit with the right and sup with the left. Like all humans, like all people.
Okay, anyway, Mr. Brown.
As a newly minted member of the Regatta Committee, having thoroughly been briefed thoroughly by Deb Roush, I was asked to come because they have other commitments, and Teresa Paul as well. But I do think I understand the history, and let me just say that I feel a little funny about making this comment because we love the Halloween parade before it's gone, our children went. And we absolutely love the Gay Pride Parade. We'll be there. We'll be at the Great Gay Pride Parade. We'll be at all of them. So I feel a little uncomfortable making this comment, and I hope you understand it's in the spirit of trying to move things forward. I think they're all the same, and I would hate to think that one was funded and one was not. Having said that, the regatta is due for May 5th, which is coincides with Cinco de Mayo, and literally hundreds, if not thousands, of funds have been expended already from the fund that the Regatta Committee raises itself, from local residents, the businesses downtown, everybody's behind it. And there was a decision made by Deb Roush based on her discussions with you, and I sat with her when she made that decision to trust in the future and go full speed ahead. So even as this week, even though, and I believe Deb's still in town, but work is going on, banners are being printed and so forth. The distinction I must make tonight, again, Halloween and the Gay Pride are very important to all of us, and personally to me, is as I listen to this conversation, the Regatta Committee, which I can only speak for, is your committee. The Regatta Committee is a town committee. The Director of Recreation, Mr. Chuck
Bordino,
approached Deb at the time he did, which was long before your administration, or before.
Actually, no. It started with Pat Kinney, who was who worked for us, and Pat Kinney.
Oh no, the regatta has been here for 30 years.
Right, but there was a point when Deb was asked to get involved in order to revive the event. I think is that correct?
No, but go.
Well,
She certainly helped revive it.
So because I believe there's a technical and perhaps a legal distinction here, and I want to make it clear the impression for the last 4 years that Deb has been under, and most of the volunteers and the people who've got behind this, that on behalf of the Recreation Department, they got together and had, at the request, I've served on many committees in this town at the request of individual supervisors in town, and I always felt I was working on behalf of the town. I did then, even as chairman of the planning board, to come back and fight for my budget, but I understood that I was working on behalf of the town. In the perception of virtually all the members of the Regatta Committee, when we submitted the application, picked it up at the village, gave it to the chief, dropped a copy off here, it was a pro forma volunteer activity on behalf of the town. Thousands, tens of thousands are raised. 40, 50, 60 people show up and volunteer. The community, Berderhof community, provides 1,200 meals. These are all there because we believed we were acting as a committee or agents or in support of a town project. So in a sense, when Deb dropped that form off, picked it up at the village, filled it out, gave it to the chief, she was acting on behalf of the town. So I'd like you to consider the fact that all of us believe we were applying, doing the heavy lifting, doing the dirty work, doing the stuff, filling out the forms on behalf of the town. We are a committee of the town. At least that's what we think so far. And so the town applied to the village for a permit. And we waited for it all to come about. Now we understand. I fully understand after tonight's meeting what's going on. I'm a little surprised as a citizen and a member of the committee that as we all speak of consolidation, and you have been a proponent of that strongly.
I'm starting to double think my thought, but go ahead.
Well, listen, I know people change their mind, I respect that.
Go ahead.
But I thought, why do we have to have a law? We just consolidate, we act together, make
Well, we all do.
10.
What would make, you know what, if we consolidated, we happen to agree with you, if we consolidated, then we wouldn't have this problem, the village approving things and the town paying for it, because we'd all be one community.
Yes.
And we, together as one community, decide what we want, what we don't want, what we can fund and what we can't. We could all live happily ever after. But somehow, that doesn't seem to be the will of certain people who come to these meetings. And so, Paul, from your lips to God's ear, I hope we do.
By the way, the people who are already one community are 99% of the residents. There's only about 10 people, 5 on one side, 5 on the other, or maybe only 1 or 2 that aren't in community. I mean, and I'm talking about the members of this board and the village board, but that's another issue. We believe that legally and technically, and from insurance, we were a committee. We submitted to the village has it. Chief is in a position of wanting to serve. We want to serve. This is affecting morale. This is creating a stir. It's not your problem. We're the committee. We are leaders. We get the troops together. I can tell you that personally, a lot of my time has been spent, a newly minted member, just bolstering people's morale and telling them, we believe in this, don't worry, don't hesitate, don't stop in your efforts. This is going to happen, and this is where we are. So that's all I want to say about it.
Thank you. Right. I mean, I think everybody in this room and the communities shares your feelings about family. And in fact, Jeff Logan's family has asked that people make donations to family in honor of his father. So it is certainly a beloved community institution.
Katie, I didn't mention family.
Well, the regatta is a benefit for family.
No, only the duck race. Only the duck race is a benefit for family.
The regatta is a benefit for?
It's not a benefit.
The regatta is just a wonderful community event. The regatta is a community event at which family holds an extremely important fundraiser.
Okay.
But you're right.
And I'm not a resident.
No, but you know what? I mean, it's just interesting to me that I now equate the regatta with a fundraiser for family. To me, those are two important intertwined things. The problem is that it's not in our budget. And we have to figure out what we do when unanticipated expenses come at the board.
I think we also have to figure out which parades are community-based parades, which we will help finance, and which aren't. So we have to develop a list for that, and we really haven't sat down.
We actually said the Memorial Day Parade, which, I don't think there's anybody at this table who would say that we would deny our veterans the right to march down Main Street on Memorial Day, and we said the Halloween Parade. Now, it might have been oversight on our part in not thinking about the regatta as being, a community-wide event, and so that might have been our own fault, but we had to find those two parades as community parades that we felt were town-wide parades that we were willing as a town to support, and then we sort of said, and then everybody else, if they want to parade down Main Street and they want to go to the village and the village wants to approve it, the village needs to figure out how they're going to,
protect the participants.
Protect the participants that are parading.
There's a larger issue too of the regatta, which is something that has concerned me every year that I've gone. And I think what we need is a sign at the bridge for the week before the regatta saying this bridge will be closed on this date, because I have seen families trapped at all 4 of those entrances, screaming children, people needing to get to bathrooms for 2 hours while the bridge is closed. And I think we need to warn commuters at least a week in advance that this bridge is going to be closed.
On such and such a time.
Yes,
I'm not really sure what you're saying. The bridge doesn't close down?
Yes, they do. They close it down when they
Close it down to do the duck
They
race.
close it when they do the duck race, and they close it down for a period of
Yeah,
time.
we keep one lane open.
The whole time?
For the whole time, we keep one lane open. We control traffic when people come across the bridge.
I don't know that.
Maybe when the duck race.
Maybe when the duck race happens, they close, I think.
It takes a long time then to open up
But when
again.
the regatta is going on, when the boats are there, it's one lane open. The fire truck parks on one lane, and we control traffic on one other lane.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't think that's actually what happens.
Okay,
Well, I've been there, I've worked it, so.
Well, we could, you know
I've
what?
stood in the middle of the street directing traffic.
Once we
already,
decide,
so I
once
know
we figure out how we're
what's
paying
up.
for the police for the regatta, we can figure out how we're going to implement the regatta.
Okay.
But so again, it's a big, and part of the problem is it's a bigger issue of the village approving parades, the town being caught, having to deal with the cost, how we deal with that issue, and then right now, again, what do we do with the 3 parades that are in front of us right now? And so we need to separate it out. We need to very quickly have a policy for parades, end of story, done, and, move happily ever after. But right now, we have 3 parades in front of us, and that's a decision in front of us right now. I'm not sure when the Pride Parade is.
June, it's usually the first weekend of June.
Okay. So,
Would it be helpful if we revisited it? Would it be helpful if the commission revisited again the policy without cost and provided recommendations? Because I think what is most important is whether or not the department can do what it needs to do to make sure that people who come to the town or the village are safe and that traffic flow is not impeded and that pedestrian,
you can do that. The only thing is that as you study it or do it, other parades are going to go to the village, they're going to approve parades, and we're going to be back in the same situation. Now, we are going to talk as soon as we get off of this about, our input to the village for their budget, right now, and we can tonight say when we do it, that we want to say to the village, you need to put into your budget a certain amount of money to pay for police protection for parades, and if they say no, that's the village's choice, and then they're out of the mix of approving parades. I mean, I can't,
It's an A fund, B fund issue too. So we have to sit down in the next week and resolve this so that everybody's happy. And nobody's going to be disappointed. It's just that we have to figure out what our policy is going to be. We can't do that this minute.
I don't see it that way. I don't see it as an A fund, B fund issue, Kevin, because if you're on the sidelines on Main Street, it doesn't matter what parade you're watching, and it doesn't matter if you're baseball, you're probably a community kid, but if you're Pride or Regatta, you could be from anywhere, and I think the parades are town-wide events, in my opinion. It's not A fund, B fund.
Well, see, I would say that A fund, B fund is a subset of another category, which is town-based and non-town-based parades. So we're going to have different subsets.
Because the B fund is the town outside the village.
I know it
and all
is.
the parades go down Main Street, which is A fund.
I realize that.
Right. I mean, nobody's asking to have a parade on Springtown Road.
No, I realize that.
Too bad, because we have a lot of money in the B fund.
Yeah. It would actually, it's something to think about. It would be
a lot safer.
Anyway,
it would be a lot safer.
But if you want the village, this is my point, if you want the village to contribute to the cost of parades with the town, how do you do that?
It's not a matter of wanting the village to contribute.
How do you do that?
Well, then we would pay for
Build them.
No. If you got their cooperation, how would you structure it? Would you structure it as a B fund expense for the town or an A fund expense?
A fund, build the village.
I don't know.
What if they don't pay?
Okay.
Well, it would have to be A fund because that's where the police are paid from.
Yeah.
So then it would be reimbursable.
At the end of
to
the
A
day,
fund.
again, you know what? We've gone through this, we tried to do the rescue squad, we tried to do Moriello Pool. We ended up like with nothing. We ended up having to, dip into our budget to figure out how to make the rescue squad whole, how to make Moriello Pool budget whole. So we just have to, again, we've got 3 parades to make a decision about, and then going forward, very clearly say, if that's what we decide later, Village, if you want to be the ones that approve the parades in your community, there's a cost associated with it, and it's now in your hands, and, the town is out of it, except for these few community parades that we understand that, we consider town parades, or we come up with a different model.
Okay.
I don't think we have to,
But these three have all been approved by the village and forwarded to you?
I have them, yes, and now they've been sent back as not being recommended.
Okay.
but the regatta is moving forward to, to put the regatta on.
I understand.
Paul is right that when Deb called me to find out what was going on, we had $500 in the recreation fund for a bouncy thing for the kids. And Deb said, I'm not worried about the bouncy thing, Susan, so if you need that money for the police, you can use that money for the police. So I said, okay, I don't really think that it'll be more than $500 for the police, so I don't think we have a problem. So me and Deb thought everything was okay. I just didn't expect it to be $1,400.
Can we send
But anyway, so we do have $500 in recreation that we could,
Can we send a letter to the village and ask them what they're budgeting for this next year for parades?
They're not budgeting anything. We have to tell them
it should really be the organization that pays for the cost. It shouldn't be the village or the town. It should be the outside organization or the local community organization that is paying for that day's worth.
I don't think they're allowed to. I think we've been down this road before.
Oh, no, they probably can, Kitty.
Okay, they're not allowed, well, the town cannot fundraise, neither can the village. But the regatta committee fundraised for years, okay? And so through that fundraising, they would be able to make a donation to the town that would cover the cost of the police presence on that day to keep everyone safe in the community on Regatta Day. And I feel that the same thing could be said for the Pride Parade, where people come from all over, but there has to be an organization group that does fundraising to get that thing here, to bring everyone together, and that $1,300 to enjoy your Pride Parade and take over Hasbrook Park for the entire day. It's not a lot. I think it's quite manageable.
I think we should sponsor certain parades because they're community-based and we should pay for them or at least contribute a significant amount of money toward them. The Veterans, Halloween, and I think the regatta is a community event. I personally feel that because it brings out everybody in the community for that. So I think we should identify which parades we will help subsidize or pay for, send a letter to the village asking them what they're willing to pay for, and see where we go from there.
Well, do you want to authorize we just got $1,500 paid back to us.
Well, the $1,500 we can.
The $1,500 we can. That's not a federal fund for the police.
About allocating that to the seniors.
Well, we actually have $10,000 in the budget for seniors that we put into the budget for senior programming for this year that we've yet to spend.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is on. Is this on?
Yes, it is.
I feel like I've lost my mojo here.
So go ahead.
Wow, that's power.
Okay, well, that's good.
So we do, and so, that's why I had sort of said at the beginning of the year that I wanted to get that senior task, our senior task force going because we had $10,000 allocated for senior programming.
Right, but we don't have the person to do the programming.
Right, well,
so I want to revisit that.
Yes, we will.
All right, well.
So we do have the $1,500 we got tonight that can be used. It was reimbursement, for us with the urgent task force. We do have money in the rec budget for events, whether it's the derby, the bouncy thing, different things, for different whatever. So, if you want to authorize the police protection for the regatta.
Do we know which other parades are going to be scheduled for the rest of the year?
They come in.
So we don't have to do this again?
No, that's why we have to make a determination, if not by next meeting, how
That's
we're
what
going to
I'm
handle this,
thinking.
because it's going to keep happening.
Right, I think that's what Susan's saying, we need a policy.
Yeah.
We absolutely need a
can't
policy.
put that policy in place tonight.
No, we can't,
No,
but we
we
have to,
can't.
we have to deal with, I mean, it's not fair to have the regatta people working on the regatta. Now, I do know that, again, from conversations with Deb, in terms of going forward, it's not like they're not willing to fundraise in the future for some of this cost obligation. The problem is it's right now, this is sort of late in the game. And so that's sort of the problem. And again, like I said, I thought that we'd be able to cover it with the money we had allocated for the bouncy thing. So it's sort of late in the game. And again, even Little League, they had said that, in the future, understanding the cost, if it was 500, maybe they pay for it, but even at 500, they might revisit and say, we'll just go to Hasbrook Park, we don't need to march down. So what happens when you speak to people about the reality, it's not like they don't get it and understand and say, we're willing to revisit it. It's just at this late date, the plan is to, march down Main Street with the kids, march down Main Street with the Pride Parade, march down, or close Main Street down for the regatta. And so we're just right now with our back against the wall in terms of having to make a decision so these good organizations can move forward. So we could do the regatta tonight, deal with the Pride Parade, however you want to handle it. I don't know.
Assuming this is coming out of the A fund, and the old formula of the town paying, having 75% of the tax base and the village 25%, for all three of these parades, which are almost $4,000, if we were to ask the village to contribute $975, then
they'll say no, and then what do we do?
Then we have to choose. I mean, because that way it would be 50-50. 25% would come out of the A fund. The town would pay the other 50%, and if we ask for an additional $975 from the village, that would make it truly 50-50, which is more than the 50 that we had in our budget.
Well, I understand what you're saying. It's just we've been down this road so many times with the village that, for me, it's honestly a wasted attempt.
Right, but this is a good time of year to ask, because as they're going into their next budget, they may know if they have enough in their contingency.
Well, what I would like to do is moving forward, because they're doing a budget, which is why the village budget's on the agenda tonight, is for us to say, going forward, you need to calculate money going
I
forward.
understand, but also at the end of their fiscal year, they may have $975 left over that they were going to put in unexpended funds that they could contribute towards the cost of these three parades.
Paul wants to say something, then we need to wrap up because we have so many other things on the agenda.
I want to thank you again. I understand the dilemma. It's clear to me. I, as a representative of the Regatta Committee, and I've had people crying, I just want to get the human side, that this is not, you didn't cause it, certainly not the chief, but there's a lot of energy. I spoke with Deb. I can tell you that if you could get all three, and I really love what's happening in this discussion right now, if you could approve all three with the suggestion that Kitty Brown came up, if I could ask you to consider doing that. My commitment is simple. On behalf of the Regatta Committee, we will personally seek out representatives, and any help you can give us. We will meet with the Gay Pride spokespersons. We will also, if you tell us who the leaders would be, we will meet. I will personally hold meetings with them, and we will do our best efforts to support whatever motion you come up with for the 900 and...
Right, but this would have to come from the village.
No. I want to make that very clear. We now, I understand, I still feel, and I hope you'll clarify this as you go for your policy, because I support Kevin 100%, we need a policy. On the other hand, I have a human issue amongst my colleagues and friends, and I want to suggest to you that we are a community. There's no discussion in us about town, village, everything, and in fact, it's only this meeting, this issue that's reminding us that there is a village in the town. So I hope the elected officials will get, let me just, so we will actively lobby and meet with all of the village reps
I believe that many of them understand this issue, just like you. You've mentioned tonight. We all understand. I will do everything in my power, and so will Deb, and so will the entire committee, to lobby for the 925. It'll be an interesting tableau, in fact, and an interesting way. Susan, I understand you say they'll say no. If they do say no, then that will be information that we'll all need to know. But I believe they will say yes, so please consider that point. If it's legal and possible, and if they don't, I'm wondering if through the Community Foundation, which can legally give money, that the Community Foundation could agree, and again, we will meet with them, and say, I will not say this now, but if there's a dilemma, let me not make too much commitment. If there was a dilemma and the town came up short for $925?
$975.
$975,
Right.
I want it on the record. That's 50 more than I thought. I believe there might be a solution where the Community Foundation could go to the village and town as one New Paltz and work something out. I'd like you to consider that possibility, because we're about $975 apart from allowing something to go forward and to allow all three parades to have joy in their heart and move ahead. But it has to be legal, as Kitty has said. And then let's leave it at that, because it's a risk. We all take risks. You take risks, you have insurance. So, and I also heard, on behalf of the Regatta Committee, that you were thinking it was 500 or 1,000, and Debbie Roush put back 500 in the pot because she doesn't, we found we can cut costs and move it back. So it's not like we're $1,400 apart on the Regatta Committee, we're $700 apart. Do you understand my reasoning? It's $1,400 for the parade.
Oh, for the police?
For the police. And that's what's holding, that's really a linchpin. Town was either going to or not going to pay it. Tonight you'll make that decision. I respect that, and you'll know more from me. But then Deb says, well, we can actually, we weren't prepared for this, it's hit us as a surprise, but take 500, we'll fix it. And so now it's 700 in real dollars that we are splitting us apart. And will the town trust that the village will do the right thing? Will the town take a risk over this $700 of difference, or $950, whatever, 75, whatever you want to call it, move ahead, give all three parades a chance to do their thing for this final year. We'll learn, we'll come back with a plan for next year, and then we can all move ahead. And then you can make your policy. That's all, enough. Thank you.
I just want, Paul,
Can I see your list?
just for the record, so you understand, my concern with Kitty's motion was not saying that we wouldn't fund the events. It was the fact that I didn't want to say we were going to fund the events dependent on the village. That was my concern, was that, in other words, I just didn't want to hold the caveat that it was, we had to wait for the village.
So
Because
if
then
we go ahead and approve $975 for each parade from our budget, leaving $325 for each of the parades on the village, times 3 is where Kitty got that number of $975. But if we do that and the additional funds are not tendered, then what do we do?
Well, I think one thing we do is, like, when there's too much snow and there's too much rain, we bite it as a community, and nobody in this 14,000 members are going to come back to this town board and say
Okay,
anything.
so
But I
in
think the
good
community will
faith,
respond.
in good faith, we're going to proceed this time again in good faith. We're going to try this.
Absolutely.
So in good faith, the town board, I will make a resolution to authorize the expenditure of up to $975 for each of the 3 parades.
Why not 1,400, Kevin?
Because
we're counting on the village.
Because
to
I
contribute 25%.
All right.
Right.
I have to protect
You're a good
the
negotiator.
taxpayers' interest.
You're a lawyer, and I respect that.
No,
I
but
got it.
we're making a contribution so that it relieves your emotional pain.
So let me just, so I can understand for a second, if I understand, for the moment, you're sort of saying that the Regatta is probably willing to make a donation of $500 to the town.
No. What they're saying is that they will forego the $500 that we had allocated towards
The bouncy thing.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, well, Deb and I had already spoken about that. Okay. So we would
But
take
you
the
know what,
$500.
the town board didn't actually approve that
No,
anyway.
they didn't. I just had said to Deb.
So that's sort of not on the table anyway. We may have to cut back the 4th of July. If we end up paying this money and we don't have the town ready to go for the 4th of July, you know, I mean, the money's got to come from somewhere,
Well,
right?
that's my question.
So-
I mean, you make this thing here, but I just want to make sure that the police department,
He's made whole.
we don't get wrapped over the knuckles come budget time that, you know, you guys are
We
collecting
won't.
this money
We have to
for
set a
these
policy.
parades, but we
No,
put in-
we're
we
pretty
show
much
budget, we
putting
show
our
that it's
own-
over time.
Our own necks, I mean, we're walking way out on this limb.
But it's-
And I would further move that we apply the $1,500 that we received tonight, which can go into our general A fund toward the costs of the town's contribution to each of those 3 parades.
Second.
Can we modify it just a little bit further? There was $500 in the recreation budget that was allocated for this, for the bouncy thing for the kids at the regatta, of which Deb had said she was willing to give that bouncy thing up, so we can allocate that $500 from the recreation fund to the police line to cover police overtime.
Toward that one parade,
Right, towards the regatta.
which will leave enough money to cover the town's,
Kevin.
which should leave enough money to cover the town's share for the other 2 parades.
I don't have a clue, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so we're
Okay.
authorizing the $1,500 of the money that was paid back to tonight through urgent to go towards police overtime. We're taking $500 from recreation to go to the regatta for police overtime, and we're authorizing $975 for the 3 parades, and $975 per parade,
Correct.
with a request then going to the village to then
Fund $325 per parade.
I have to withdraw my second because I don't remember approving the 500 for the bouncy room.
No, what you did, it was actually when we did the recreation budget. In the recreation budget, there's money that's for the fishing derby, there's money for the regatta, there's money for all sorts of different
There
events.
is money for the regatta?
Yes, $500 for the bouncy. I actually have it all lumped in together and stuff, but Deb, you know, but it's always, there's been money for the fishing derby where you give like $300 for them to go buy things. We give $500 for them to buy the bouncy
Okay.
thing. So we do have money in recreation for the regatta as a contribution.
I see.
And so what Deb said when we
Okay.
started talking about this was she said, Susan, you already have money for the bouncy.
Okay, I got it.
So Kitty, just to give you a little elaboration here, we have $2,000 then, $1,500 here and $500 in that other fund toward the cost of the parades, which is only going to leave a small balance that we have to come up with. It's about $800.
And
Of
which
which is
is
the
very fortuitous and serendipitous, except that since this isn't in our budget, that's $2,000 that just could have gone into the general fund for
That's
general
correct.
expenditures. So, but we all know that. And to Paul's comment that we'll be better prepared for next year, that's why we made such a big fuss about this last year at the budget session, when we said we are only going to fund 2 parades next year. All hail, you know, here's the news, get it out on the Daily Bugle, and then, of course, here we are. So
That was communicated to the regatta committee?
it was communicated at town board meetings, and, you know, I don't know what got actually covered in the newspapers. I don't know if there was an individual phone call made to anybody, but, you know.
Okay.
Let me say that I wasn't there then, but it doesn't matter. I take full responsibility. I will make sure that we understand. I promise you it will be in there. And I just want to say, Kitty, it reminds me of something that I read and was told. The problem with communications is the assumption that it has taken place. So I guarantee you that we
Right.
won't be confused as of tonight.
Point taken.
That's okay.
Right.
So we have a motion, a second. Do we all understand what the motion is that was made?
And Rosanna's going to read it back, just to make sure.
Not to put you on the spot, Rosanna, but go ahead. Drum roll.
Kevin made a motion to authorize the expenditure of up to $975 for each of 3 parades, $1,500 that you got back from urgent, and the $500 in the rec line to go towards the regatta. And you'll be sending a request to the village for them to pay their 25% share of $325 for each of the
The
three parades.
$2,000 goes to the cost of all 3 parades.
Well, no. $1,500 goes to...
500 of which has already been allocated to the regatta.
Right, 2,000 will be dispersed
Right,
among
5,000
all
of
three.
which has already been
Well,
previously allocated to the regatta.
what I had thought was you were going to take the 1,500 divided by the 3, and then the regatta got the extra 500 because that was in the budget for them.
No, that's not my
Well, that's what I thought, so that's why I said let's clarify it.
I'm authorizing the town to expend $975 per parade. Now, we have $1,500 we received in that form of that check, which we can use to pay for that expense. We have $500 already in the budget line for the regatta. I'm suggesting that the $975 that we paid toward the regatta, $500 has already been allocated, so we're going to use some of this money for the regatta. We're going to use the balance of that money for the other 2 parades, and we'll be $835 short after that. We'll have to come up with that money.
But that's the money that we're requesting from the village?
No.
It's over and above?
Over and above.
Okay. Okay, and, we will request that of the village, but then, Paul, you're going to follow up with the village to
Absolutely.
The burden-
have them come to the
The
table.
burden
and do the
has
right
shifted
thing.
You
to
will see
Paul
me and
Brown.
other members of
Thank
the
you.
committee, and hopefully
Thank you.
all 3 committees
Okay.
of the village.
Okay, so before we, any more discussion? All in favor?
I thought that we were going to develop a procedure.
We have
We
to
are.
develop
This
a
is just right now on
policy.
these 3 parades, so we can just move forward. I am going to say something right afterwards. So this is just specifically on these parades.
Okay.
Because they've already been kind of planned and
Right, which is
scheduled.
why I want to then follow.
Okay.
So is everybody in favor?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so
Roll call. Kitty?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
and Gin's a no. Okay, so that's done. What I'd like to ask now is for a next step, to authorize the supervisor to send a letter to the village saying that they don't have the right to authorize any more parades without accounting for the cost. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very
You know,
much. Thank
that no parade can be approved at this point without covering the cost for the police overtime, so we don't find ourselves in this situation while we're developing the policy.
And that you will also request a contribution of $325 toward the cost of 3 parades, which we've approved.
And I wouldn't call it a contribution, but a match.
Okay? All right.
Okay, sure.
A matching payment.
I was,
Yeah.
Well,
A match.
does it make sense that parade requests initiate with the police department first and then come to you as opposed to going to the village or the town?
We can't tell the
and then
village what to
sending it?
do.
No, the point, that's putting the police in an, I mean, right now, if he doesn't have money in his budget for parades, he's going to have to say no to every parade anyway. Okay? So it puts him in a difficult position, I think.
What I'd like to happen, see that you're asking, is I shouldn't approve them. It's a safety issue. If it's a safety issue, I'll let you know. If it's a cost issue, I will let you know. But it should be up to the town and the village, however that works out. But it should be up to the town to tell me if you want that, money spent from the budget.
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, if it came to the town, we'd make the decision, we'd put the money in the budget, we'd move forward, there would be no discussion. The problem is the addition of it going to the village first, them approving it with no repercussions to the cost, and then it getting thrown on our shoulder, and a parade has been approved by the village, but we don't have it in the police budget, and then where do we go? Which is where we're at tonight. So it's got to either be, if the village has a say in the parades, and they approve it, then approve it and get the, and cover the cost for the police. Otherwise, it's the town's responsibility to make the decision. End of story. And we shouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah. It's a no-win for everybody.
Right.
But I think at the end of the day, even if the town decides to approve it, and I just want to make sure that.
Well, the town can approve it, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if the chief says there's safety concerns and problems, he'll get back to us and say, you can't do this route, you can't do this, you can't whatever, and we'd, of course, then react to, ultimately, from our perspective, we're not going to turn around and say to the chief, we don't care, have a parade and put people at risk.
Right.
Okay.
So
We have 5 more contracts on our agenda for tonight, so
Okay, so
we
thank you
got a
all
lot to
very much
do.
for your, yes, you are done, have a nice vacation.
Vacation.
Did you call for vote for that?
Oh,
Yeah, you did a roll call.
yeah. Oh, no, for the
Take your
second
time
one.
getting up.
The second one, the second one, I was going to basically write a letter to the village asking for them to do a match, but also that they can't approve any more parades without having the cost for the police covered.
And Kevin Friendly amended it to say that she wanted to add in, to request the $325 per parade.
Kevin did. And I'll second it.
And then he amended it.
He didn't amend it.
You made the motion, he seconded it, and then...
Right, that's true.
Right, so Susan made the motion, Kevin seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Okay. And then how do you want to move forward about doing a policy?
Motion to adjourn.
How do we want to move forward to do a policy?
I think we need to find the policy that we've got right now and...
Oh, the policy we have now
see
is
what's not
ridiculous.
working, and...
Well, the policy right now is the fact that the village approves it, it comes to the town, we collect the $25, we send it to the police, they say okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is the parade route is in the village, and I don't know how to solve that problem.
The parade route is on a
And
state
we're not going to be
road.
able to solve it tonight.
The parade is on a state road. So it's not even,
But
it's a
it's
state
through the
road.
village, so
Which is
I don't know.
located in the town.
Right.
That's the problem.
It's interesting, why doesn't the state have to approve it?
They do.
Well, actually-
They do, and they didn't the last time, which is why the last time they was doing something that in '99 for that big fair.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
They told them, no, you can't do it.
Right. So, and they said that,
Interesting.
and they said that, so actually,
Wait, so do we
actually,
have state approval to go down Main Street for the regatta and the Pride Parade?
probably not, that needs to, we could at the Transportation Implementation Committee meeting where we have the DOT there, we could ask to have that on the
Yeah.
agenda, and then we can figure that out when we do our
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, you should
Okay,
do that.
so we should really do that and get a policy in
That's
place that's
Tuesday, I
legal
think, right?
and workable. So, okay, so moving on, let's see what we can zip through.
Ambulance services.
April.
No,
Yes.
I make a motion authorizing the supervisor to sign April as Worldwide
Oh.
Parkinson's Day.
Second.
Okay, so we're basically proclaiming the month of April, Parkinson's Awareness Month proclamation. And I don't...
Are we
necessarily-
saying Worldwide Parkinson's Day or month?
Or month.
Where were, blah, blah, blah. I'll get
You're
to
right.
that. Now
Month.
for,
It says day on my agenda.
Me too.
whereas April has been proclaimed as Worldwide Parkinson's Awareness Month for all to recognize the need for more research and help in
That
dealing
was
with devastating
exactly what
effects
I
of
meant.
Parkinson's disease. Now therefore, I, Susan Zimmern, Supervisor of the Town of New Paltz, do hereby proclaim April as Parkinson's Awareness Month in 2013.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Okay, Edmunds Building Purchase. We talked about this a while ago,
Yeah.
that we wanted to try to make sure that we get on top of the escrow accounts and everything is managed correctly and everything is booked correctly.
How
And
much money?
It was $20,000.
I thought we had already done it.
No, we
No.
didn't.
Just
What
talked
happened-
about it.
No, what happens was...
I met with Stacy. I had a tutorial on the
All
new
right,
software.
you wanted to see
He
it.
wanted to see it.
I wanted to see it. I'm very impressed with it. We need to keep track of the escrows properly, which hasn't been done for a long time. This system will help them keep those accounts in auditable order. And we also, by phone, asked for a further discount off of their price quote, which was already discounted by $5,000. I didn't feel it would hurt to ask, and they took an additional $3,000 off the bill.
Nice work.
Here we go. I paid for my salary for the year.
There you go.
So it's not just doing the escrow, and also it does something with the open permits and violations and
It
the...
shows you what is open. It will show you if you have an open water bill. It will also issue receipts for building permits. It's a great system.
Okay, their existing software is DOS-based, so I make a motion, we approve Edmunds software for the building department.
Second.
Do you want to, it's a cost of what, it's $20,000 with an annual maintenance of $3,990.
But the annual maintenance is free for the first year.
It's free for the first year, so then make the motion to authorize $20,000 to buy the program with no cost for maintenance.
I would like to amend
Okay.
Jean's motion to authorize the expenditure of up to $20,000 for the purchase of the software with an annual maintenance fee of what, Susan?
Well, it said
Well, it's free for the first
Right.
year, and then we'll budget for the maintenance in the next budget.
Correct.
Right.
All right, let's do it that way.
Okay, so I have a second?
To the amendment.
I said.
You made the motion.
Jean made the motion.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Jean made the motion, Kevin
I seconded it.
Okay, all in
We
favor?
amended that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion so carried. So it's great. We're taking care of a lot of
Central Hudson
problems.
resolution.
Okay, the Central Hudson resolution, you got the resolution. Legislator Rodriguez spoke about it. It's a resolution in opposition to the proposed merger of Central Hudson and Fortis. I could read it out loud.
Can I
if
ask
you
you-
all read it.
I don't need you to.
I don't need you to read it, but I just wish it was more specific. You know, special with respect to the solar initiatives.
Right.
And their opposition to expanding, you know, the
Wait, I
solar
do
system.
Wait, Kitty's working magic over here.
Well,
if you want to change it.
I have the resolution.
But I think I have an old email from Clearwater about this that does get very specific. My primary objection is that they only held 2 public hearings on the same day. I don't remember getting invited to a
Well, we
public hearing
didn't.
on this. And they have a substation right in our area. I think the PSC really let the public down. 2 public hearings, who knows where they, I don't even know where they were held. There are Public Service Commission. So let me find,
So anyway, I think
Here.
the point is that what Kevin is saying is that you wanted to beef up, Kevin, the fact that
I
there
want
is
to be
something in
very
here.
specific.
Well, they do say in here that they're not committed to solar. I know that,
Like the first resolved, I look at the resolved provisions.
Okay, so we'll
The
go-
first one says that the town board does not support the proposed merger of Central Hudson and the multinational corporation Fortis Inc., but doesn't say really why. I'd rather say why. We're going to urge the Public Service Commission to extend the period for public comment. I can do that. I'm all right with that. Then it says, further resolve, the town of New Paltz urges the PSC to have a public recommended decision which will provide for a more transparent decision on what?
we can change it whatever you want, just so you know, this was the resolution that was adopted by the Ulster County Legislature.
Wow.
And so I just took that one and took out Ulster County Legislature and put it in the town of New Paltz. So if you want to change it, make it stronger, do whatever you want, that's not a problem.
Well, can we, I would like to pass this resolution with more teeth, with
okay,
more
well, maybe
substance.
we should add our own whereas.
Why don't we-
Which is that the merger agreement fails to protect ratepayers against future rate hikes or an erosion of service.
I think it does say
That's-
about the rate
Is that
hikes.
only in there?
No, but not specifically like that. It's not in the resolve section. It's
So-
in the whereas section.
So,
Yes.
And
So
I would like,
just a quick question. I know that they wanted this, because I think public
well,
input is.
see, we're in a situation now where Central Hudson has asked us for a $420,000 connection fee.
Right.
All right? So the reason why they request the fee is to make it prohibitive to
For
build
the
these solar farms.
Right.
So what I want is something in the resolution that makes it specifically clear to them why we're objecting to their proposed merger.
Well, wait a second.
Because they are not, according to this, they're not funding certain public initiatives to the level they should, and there should be more language in here about solar initiatives, and they should be helping.
Well, I think the problem is that neither one of these public utilities is particularly responsive to consumer requests for more solar initiatives. I mean, our problem is with Central Hudson, but I think the feeling locally is that we know where Central Hudson lives.
Right.
We can go and, you know, we can go to their shareholder meetings, we can...
Send Ray Linotti to their meetings.
Yes, exactly.
But Kitty, right here in the second or third whereas clause, it says, PSC staff recommended $85 million in community benefit funds for the areas covered by Central Hudson, to which Fortis initially offered only $20 million before ultimately settling for less than $50 in aid to our area. Well, is some of that aid available to offset our connection fee? That's what I'm wondering, and I'd like to have a resolution that's a little more
My
specific.
impression for these community benefits is that they round them up to the nearest million, but by the time they trickle down to the community, there's, I don't know. I mean, I certainly have seen some public benefit events sponsored by utilities, but they're generally national, regional. It's hard to see where the community benefit dollars actually trickle down to the local community.
Okay, Kevin, perhaps they want us to adopt it tonight because comments are due by March 22nd.
Oh, right.
And should be addressed to Jeffrey C. Cohen, Acting Secretary, Public Service Commission. So if we did adopt it tonight, it could be forwarded to him and still make it by tomorrow.
How about if we add a resolved that the Town of New Paltz Board urges the Public Service Commission to...
Could you write it down?
I'm trying to further resolve. No, I know, but he's talking. Service Commission to.
Susan, I think I can do this on my thing, and then you won't have to actually do anything except yes.
Susan, to direct the, what's the name of the company? To direct Central Hudson's successor, Fortis Inc., to assist municipalities in building and establishing independent solar farms to offset municipal costs for electricity.
I stopped writing, but I stopped writing because that's contradictory in a way that we're further resolved the PSC to direct Central Hudson's successor, because this resolution is saying we don't support the...
No, but to direct them to the extent that they do
well, you want to say further
authorize them.
Well, then you need to say something like the further resolved, if the PSC should allow the merger to go forward, then you want them to direct.
That sounds good.
Okay, so... Yes, I agree. Okay, so if the merger is allowed, that we want the PSC to direct Central Hudson's successor, Fortis Inc., to assist municipalities in what, Kev?
In the establishment of and the construction of solar farms to offset municipal power costs.
Okay. I hope you can do that tonight, Kitty, so I can print it out and give it to Rosanna to get out tomorrow since I...
She's looking.
Okay. Okay, so do I have a motion to accept this resolution as amended by Councilman Barry?
I'll move it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motions
Aye.
are carried. Okay. If Legislator Rodriguez is watching, we did it.
Oh, it's a PDF. Sorry.
Okay, I'll try to do it before I leave tonight or whatever. We have a discussion for the village budget, concessionaire hiring policy, a couple contracts. Danielle is here for the dog park contract, so instead of making Danielle wait much longer, we have the dog park contract. We would have extended it for longer when we did it, but Joe had wanted us to basically try to start getting all contracts approved at the organizational meeting, which is why we have it back on the agenda. Danielle did give us a report. Isn't that amazing?
An annual report.
She gave us an annual report, which is...
Requested in the contract.
That's right.
So she was requesting the contract, she gave it, and so I would just like to, move that we reauthorize the dog contract with Paws of Ulster, Inc., for the purposes of the dog park.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm only confused because this goes until July.
Well, the problem is, what happened is we can change it. We'll change it because...
No, the contract?
No, what happened was...
The one that we did do.
We happened...
Right.
It was
And then this new contract starts in July and ends in December, correct?
Now, what ended up happening is we made the agreement in June,
Yes.
but I think Joe wanted us to have it just to go to the end of the year.
Yes, the 31st of July, takes effect the 31st of July, and shall terminate on the 31st of December 2012. That's successive to the existing contract,
Do
right?
you mean 2013?
No. What happened was, yeah. Joe, what happened was when we were doing the contract, when we were first doing it,
Right.
we were going to do it for a year, but then Joe had said that he wanted us to try to get all contracts to end December 31st and at the organizational meeting
Right, then
to
we
approve all the contracts. And so he wanted us to do that. Now, quite frankly, I'd rather make it for 5 years and call it quits because you could see that it's now March and we're first getting to this because we couldn't do it at the organizational meeting because we had so much other work to do. But why don't we make the motion from
So
January 1st?
I'll amend it to the first day of January 2013, and shall terminate on the 31st day of December 2013.
Right.
That's what I thought you
And
said.
this is exactly the same contract?
It's the same exact contract.